Hello, my name is Kate Glaser. Today I'm with Jeff Buckley, and we are here to talk about estate planning, something that sounds a little bit it's a huge topic, can be a little bit, I've used the word intimidating before, but it's really important to be able to know what is estate planning, like estate planning 101, right, and basically why is it important. So let's just share more about what is estate planning.
Okay, yeah, I'll tell you, I joke with people a lot. I say I've got the toughest job in the world to talk about estate planning. I mean, who wants to talk about, well, what happens if something happens to you or someone in your family? So it's a difficult topic, and we acknowledge that right up front. But, you know, probably the most basic piece of estate planning, something everybody thinks about, everybody's heard of, is the will. All right, so wills are very important. But one of the things that we try to do when we're putting an estate plan together for somebody is we want to get the will in place, get it created, get it signed properly, make sure it covers everything that's needed. But then we really think of that as kind of the safety net. That's there to catch something if it falls through the cracks. And then we really, as part of our overall estate planning, is try to plan so maybe that will never has to be used. And I kind of start out talking with people about that because it throws them off, I think, at first. Like, why? What do you mean? Why are we going through this exercise? And what it really comes down to is, unfortunately, or fortunately, none of us really know when we're going to pass away. So we just don't know what we're going to own on the day we pass away. And it is possible that there are things, in my practice over the years, I've dealt with people that have, come into an inheritance and then pass away shortly thereafter. And they never even had a chance to take that inheritance and do something with it or get it titled or set up properly so that it can pass to their own beneficiaries before they themselves pass away. So it's a timing thing. That's why creating your will is really the first step to an estate plan. Just kind of spell out exactly who you'd like to be your beneficiaries, where you'd like everything to go if something should happen to you. Then it's the safety net. We've put that in place, and then really the next step as part of an overall estate plan is to start looking at everything and trying to set it up so that if something does happen to you tomorrow, we've got it all set up so that nothing ever has to pass through your will. Everything can just go automatically to beneficiaries that you've named, joint owners on property or accounts, that kind of thing.
And Jeff, let's say you don't have a will set up. How does that work, or what happens if someone does pass away?
Well, that's a good question. Every day in New York and every state in the United States, people pass away and they don't have wills. So every state in the country has, and I'll use a little legalese with you here, if you pass away without a will, there are laws on the books of the state that you live in that are referred to as the laws of intestacy. It's a legal word. It basically means that you've passed away without a will. If you do have a will, you're considered passing away testate, or the laws of testacy cover that. So what happens is the issue that occurs really is that the laws of intestacy are on the books, but they're not very flexible. They're really set up just to make sure that it follows whatever you own on the day you die, follows your bloodline. And today, with blended families, with many people, that's really not what somebody wants. If you've got a second marriage and you consider the child or children of your new spouse to be your children themselves, and you'd like them to benefit if something would happen to you, if they're not included in a will, then they won't inherit if you pass away without a will in intestate. So having that will out there really allows you to spell out exactly what you specifically want done with your assets. It can be very important in situations where people have collectibles. I prepared a will for somebody one time that was a car collector, and he said, my wife has no interest in these vehicles, but he had 3 collectible cars, so we made sure we spelled out in his will the VIN number and the make and model of each of those cars, and he gave one to each of his buddies. You know, something that wouldn't have occurred. His wife would have ended up with all of them if he had died intestate or without a will. So,
Sure. And how does estate planning then go into financial planning? How important, or is it a huge topic when it comes to meeting with a financial planner?
Yeah, it does become very important because part of my plan, like we were talking about, we want to create that safety net, but then we want to drop down and try to look at all your assets and set it up so that if something does happen to you, everything can pass automatically where you want it to go without ever having to go through the will. So the way we do that is by designating beneficiaries on investment accounts. If you have an IRA account or a Roth IRA account, you can name beneficiaries on there. And what happens then, if you do pass away, the person named on that beneficiary is going to receive those benefits very quickly, very easily. It's a very efficient transfer, and it occurs much quicker than if that money has to pass through a will. We can do it also with by naming either maybe some co-owners on an account, having a bank account where if it's set up, maybe you're married and you and your spouse are on there, but you have 3 children. You can go to the bank and you can name your 3 children as either transfer on death or pay on death, and they're usually abbreviated like a TOD or a POD designation, but then it would go automatically to them if something happens to both of you. So during your lifetimes, only the 2 of you have access to that account, and if one of you passes away, the survivor gets everything. But if both of you pass away, it stays out of the will, don't have to go through the court-ordered probate process, and instead the 3 kids could present a death certificate to the bank and be able to transfer that immediately. And that can be extremely important when somebody passes away. Often there's a need for cash immediately. You know, we've got final expenses, we've got not only funeral costs, but maybe there's some outstanding credit card debt or something like that, where having access to that cash is important. It's different though than if we just name maybe one of your children on the account with you. Oftentimes parents don't want to do that because the way the bank looks at that is you and your child then become co-owners of that account, which means that your child can receive that monthly statement, and next thing you know, you're getting calls, why did you spend $300 at Wegmans this week, that kind of thing. And not all parents want that. So there are ways, if you work with a financial advisor, that we can set up beneficiary designations to really make sure it's a smooth and efficient transition.
And if someone is watching now and they want to have an estate plan, do you offer that regularly at Kautz Buckley?
I do, also going through my law firm, the Stam Law Firm too. The Stam Law Firm, that's one of our primary areas of practice. And then yes, I'm able, to help on the financial side of things, just with my experience and with looking at how, someone that we are preparing an estate plan for, how their assets are currently titled, how they're set up, making sure that beneficiaries are in line, that kind of thing. It can even expand into areas such as like real property too. We do deed transfers where we can set it up so there are multiple owners, or maybe we transition property over to the children. If we do something like that, oftentimes that makes the estate planning that much more efficient and effective.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for all this information. A really, really good topic, an important topic too, right? So thank you again for tuning in. If you have more questions, feel free to reach out to Dan or Jeff.
Yes. Find more information at KautzBuckleyFinancial.com or call our office at 716-276-8480.